Блядь, БК! Держи 12 держи. Все, пустой.
The Ukrainians had finally managed to starve the Russian troops on their southern flank and crush the Russian defenses for several kilometers at a time. Earlier, I told you that after the Ukrainians weakened the Russians by moving along the canal and pushing the Russians from their positions in front of Klischiivka, the Russians in the jungle were caught in an operational encirclement. The Russian forces attempted to resist for several days, anticipating that Wagner's troops or airborne units would carry out blocking operations. Recently released footage shows Russian troops trying to push Ukrainians from a line of trees in front of Ivanovsk to secure control of the fields and allow them to safely retreat. Russian troops even sent in a tank to help establish control of the field and also provide cover for the retreating troops, but the tank was destroyed by approaching Ukrainian artillery. Meanwhile, the problems facing the Russian troops in the jungle were exacerbated as Ukrainian artillery fire destroyed several shelters with ammunition. It seemed that the Russians were also out of touch and unable to communicate with the mainland. As a result, when the Ukrainians began their offensive operations, the Russians did not realize they were completely surrounded and fought their way out. A fighter from a different assault unit reported that they noticed decreased Russian artillery fire on the flanks and speculated that the recent Ukrainian HIMARS attack destroyed much of the Russian artillery, so they now had only enough firepower to sustain the intensive shelling of Bakhmut and Klischiivka. The current situation suggests that Ukraine is finally ready to start storming Klischiivka. In fact, artillery preparations have already begun. Recently released footage shows how a Ukrainian drone operator recorded how 3 trucks delivered reinforcements to Klischiivka, which was then destroyed by Ukrainian artillery along with a small ammunition depot. He said that the Ministry of Defense focuses on settlements rather than tactical positions, and that in many cases in Ukraine, settlements are located in low-lying areas and mean almost nothing. So while the Russian Ministry of Defense reports that Ukraine failed to take Bakhmut, for example, Ukraine has managed to move ahead tactically. Ukrainians move along a ridge that stretches from Klischiivka to Klischiivka. They had taken possession of the woods and hills around the forest and east of the canal and were ready to storm the 2 forts protecting Klischiivka. If this attack was successful, the Ukrainians would control a large platform that would allow them to attack from below and cut off Bakhmut from the south. They are likely to open a line of support strike towards Klischiivka to regroup the Russian troops as they move towards Zaitsev and Vesa.